Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our full council today, Tuesday, the 18th of November. The first item on our agenda today is declarations of interest. Do I have any, please? No, thank you.
Yep. Sorry, Chair. Yep.
Sorry, Councillor Roger.
Just declare an interest on item 8 as the Executive Vice Chair of the Islands Partnership will visit Scilly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chair. Sorry, I should probably declare an interest in item 11 as I work for the Isles of Scilly Community Venture, which is named in the report. However, the recommendation is only to note the report, so if it's okay with the monitoring officer, I'd stay for discussions.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Legg. Item 2 on our agenda are the minutes of our previous council meeting from the 14th of October. Are there any observations or issues around those minutes, please? And could I have a proposer?
Just to say Chair, in the printed copy, there's a repeated point. So we've got the lead member for children appointment, which is on page 2. And then underneath, where it has should be the minutes for the terms of reference for the Health and Wellbeing Board, it repeats the minutes for the above section. So we don't seem to have the minutes for the discussion on the Health and Wellbeing Board. I don't know if that's just my printed copy, or if everybody... So that's on...
Just having a look.
Yeah, page 2 of the agenda pack.
Leah, do you want to comment?
Sorry, Chair, can I just have one moment to just have a look at
Yes. Just bear with us one moment, thank you.
It is just a duplication, isn't it? So are you also suggesting, Councillor, that there's an item missing?
Well, we've duplicated the content for the lead member for children appointment, but there doesn't seem to be anything relating to the agenda item of terms of reference for the Health and Wellbeing Board. So we seem to be missing some minutes.
Yeah, I can see now underneath. I think the only option is to bring the minutes to the next meeting of full council.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will leave the adoption of those minutes at the moment till they are amended and bring it to next council. Thank you. Item 3 on our agenda are Chairman's announcements. I have a couple of announcements this morning. First of all, I'd like to pay tribute to Stephen Taylor, who sadly passed away following illness on the 6th of November. Stephen was a very well-respected and valued colleague and had a local government career spanning 4 decades. Stephen was the Council's Deputy Monitoring Officer from 2018 to 2021. And we'd like to send our condolences to his family. Thank you. Later this morning, we have an item around our housing and economic needs survey. And I'd just like to encourage all islanders to take part in our housing and economic needs assessment, which launched last week. The survey is open for 6 weeks and is a vital opportunity for residents to share their views on local housing needs. Your input will help shape future planning and ensure that policies reflect the realities of life across our islands. Please do take a few minutes to complete the questionnaire and encourage others to do the same. Thank you. On the 13th of November, the Chief Executive and I met with Baroness Taylor, who is the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State and Lord's Minister for Housing and Local Government, to discuss the next steps in addressing the challenges the islands face in terms of affordable housing and transport. This meeting follows the visit by Baroness Taylor to the islands in August and my letter putting forward initial proposals for the Minister and her officials to consider on the 27th of August. A copy of this letter was circulated to all members. The Minister explained to us that her visit to the islands had given her and her officials a much greater appreciation of the challenges faced by the islands, particularly on affordable housing and transport. Having had time to reflect on this and consider the initial proposals put forward by the Council, the Minister was keen to work to address these challenges, focused on 4 areas. Firstly, housing delivery plan for the Isles of Scilly. The government were committed to unlocking housing supply across the UK, including the Isles of Scilly, in order to deliver the government's mission to provide 1.5 million new homes. The Minister viewed sites such as Carn Thomas as crucial in creating a pipeline of affordable housing, and said her officials will work quickly with Homes England to understand better what options are available to support this project. In addition, the officials from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government and Homes England would work with the Council on the preparation of a housing delivery plan for the Isles of Scilly, which would enable further housing sites to be delivered with support from government. 2. The Council's base budget for 2026-27. In 2026-27, the government will introduce changes to the way Council is funded. This provides the opportunity for government to uplift the Council's base budget to take into account the remoteness and accessibility challenges faced by the islands. The Council has already submitted proposals on how this could be calculated. Whilst the Minister was not in a position to comment on future funding allocations ahead of the budget on 26th of November, the Minister did confirm that consideration would be given to including an uplift in the base budget to allow the Council to introduce a scheme to provide affordable inter-island boating and introduce a basic subsidy for islanders to get to the mainland once or twice a year to address the transport poverty that exists on the islands. 3. Freight transport costs. Having learned firsthand the impact of freight costs during her visit to the islands and meeting with the residents of St Agnes, the Minister was keen to see an independent study conducted to address the options to address this. A key element of this would be the collection of further evidence and to support the study. The Minister will work with her officials to explore options to support this work, including the provision of funding to establish a shared evidence base to inform future collaboration between government departments. And lastly, protecting lifeline link services. The Minister was not in a position to make any commitments regarding the introduction of safeguards to ensure the provision of lifeline transport links for the islands in the future. This was an area that would require input from a range of government departments, particularly transport. She did, however, agree to discuss this with Lord Hendy, who leads on transport in the House of Lords and is a minister in the Department for Transport, to see how this could be taken forward. I would just mention that we were supported in this meeting with Baroness Taylor by Nigel Blackler, our project director. Yesterday, Nigel was working on some other Department for Transport work, which was involving Wi-Fi on Great Western Railway trains improvements, which might not be directly relevant, but the good thing was that he was able to meet with Lord Hendy yesterday, along with Councillor John Peacock, who was in London on marine management organisation business. So Nigel and John both met with Lord Hendy yesterday during that work, and he expressed a great interest in the islands and the difficulties that are being faced by our community. So we're hoping that there's another minister now who will help us in our efforts to provide affordable fares and freight costs for the residents of these islands. I will continue to keep members updated further on further developments, and will bring forward reports to full council when the council needs to be formally considering the initiatives outlined above. Thank you very much. Item 4 on our agenda is consideration of any questions received under Standing Order 14. I have none. Item 5 is consideration of any motions received in accordance with Standing Order 12. I have none. Item 6 is to receive draft minutes from committees for information only. And item 7 are urgent items, of which I have none. So we move now straight on to part 1, item 8 on our agenda, which is the Arts Council England Major Projects Funding Bid, which is the report of our Director of Place, Economy and Environment, Nicola. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. Short report here. This item relates to the submission of an application for funding the Arts Council England to continue to support cultural activities on the islands. We have had Arts Council support for cultural activities since 2017, and in 2021 we were recognised as a priority place by Arts Council for investment and support. We've had 3 successful bids previously, and the current funding expires in April 2026, and this has enabled a sustainable programme of cultural activities across the islands. This next application covers a period from May next year through to April 2027. The ask of the Arts Council is just over £88,500, and there's a number of matched sources of funding, and the ask from the Council is just £5,000 towards a total project cost of just over £131,000. It covers activities including arts programming, which we'll be familiar with, outreach work, including the off-islands, engagement with our children and young people, and the commissioning of event for the opening of the Town Hall next year. The draft bid is attached at Appendix A, and the Council is asked to approve the submission of a grant application and approve the match funding of £5,000 of Council funding from contingency to support the project. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Dean, please.
Yeah, I've nothing to add really. Putting 5,000 in and getting 100 and something thousand out seems a good deal to me, so I'll propose the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sims?
Again, nothing much to add, so I'm happy to second that recommendation. It's a very good multiplier.
Thank you very much. No further questions then. Could we put that to the vote, please? I have a proposer and seconder for the recommendations. All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Nicola, for your report. Item 9 on our agenda is the proposed Belonging and Inclusion Hub at Carngwarville. The business case, which is again in the hands of Nicola. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is a bit more of a complicated project. This is the Belonging and Inclusion Hub associated with Children's Services. So we're helping out in terms of the capital development side of the project and working with Laura in Children's to make sure that the end user needs are met. So in terms of context, the Inclusion Hub and Family Hub is there to offer support for young people, children and families, including SEND provision for the islands. It's a multifunctional facility funded by the Department for Education via its higher needs capital allocation, of which we have £2,000, I wouldn't go very far with it, £2 million at present. We're currently at concept stage in this project, so the business case allows us to look at the 5 cases for whether the project should go ahead or not. The main issue really is around the strategic case, the reason why, and there is a really strong strategic case, and it will support much needed facility on the islands. In terms of the economic case, we looked at a number of different sites around the island, and the location of the facility adjacent to the school and within the Carnguaval context was considered to be the best and most deliverable project because it's also within our control. In terms of the financial case, we had to take into consideration the size of a grant available, which means that the size of the scheme had to be compatible with the funding. So we had to scale it back and make best use of the resources that we have, which also draws us towards the Carnguaval complex because we have an existing facility that can be reconfigured alongside a small extension of 120 square metres. So the proposals have been include the redesign of part of Carnguaval, but provide a small extension at the side. However, that requires planning approval. So the next steps really would be, if the business case is agreed, would be to progress that planning application, so progress the project from concept stage. Have further discussions with the Department for Education around the funding, and importantly engage with the end users to make sure it remains fit for purpose. The intention will be to deliver this project at pace with tenders in around about May, so that we can start on site in the spring, early summer, with due to completion due in August or September of next year, if all goes to plan. So it's 2 recommendations. One is to approve the business case that's set out at Appendix A, and that plan application should be submitted. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Vice Chair, Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, this project's been on our radar for many years. I don't know how many directors I've spoken about the funding with on this one, so I'm very pleased it's got some traction. I think there was a risk at one stage we'd lose for funding if we didn't move with a bit more pace, so I'm glad that we've got those discussions going on. I'm, as Nicola said, keen for the building to be used as broadly as possible, so it's used by as many different children, young people as possible and other aspects of the community. The cost of a project raises some questions. £2 million doesn't buy what it used to, does it? When you look at it, it's not a massive amount for £2 million, and I can understand why the community might raise some questions about that. I'm mindful that we've had discussions with Ofsted about our commitment on various projects, and with a SEND inspection coming up, I think this helps with some of those conversations to show that we're dedicated and committed to the work we're doing. But I thought it was just an opportunity as well to talk about, when we had our public consultation in this room a few weeks ago, we had some children, young people in here, and one of the comments they spoke about was wanting a dedicated space, not necessarily something like this, but some sort of place they can hang out. We spoke about the skate park, we spoke about climbing walls. So I think this is part of that jigsaw, but I think there's other sort of facilities that young people want and they've told us about and spoken to us about. And I'm not anticipating we're going to have a big underspend on this, judging from what Nicola said, but I think there's still some work to do to try and deliver what children and young people want.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dean, please.
I think Councillor Grottig was first.
Well, I think you were first,
Oh,
and
okay.
then your light went off.
Fine. I was just going to echo what Councillor Williams said and support the case. Just one question, Nicola. As with all money, there's normally a time limit on it. Is there a time limit on this money, and do we need to move it at pace? Is that why we're talking about moving it at pace?
Yeah, I think Councillor Williams just alluded to it. We've had money allocated to the islands for a number of years and hasn't been spent. So if you don't spend it, you lose it. So the further discussions with the Department for Education have been that we have got a project that's now live, that we have got a plan to spend the money. I would have thought if we don't get traction on the project now, then there is a risk that we would lose the funding.
Okay, thank you. That's yeah. I'm happy to propose the recommendations, unless Councillor Williams did already.
Thank you. Councillor Grottick, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd be very happy to second the recommendation. I would just like to say I'd like to support all the work and thought that's gone into this project and commend all of the team in Children's Services and the infrastructure team who've worked together to bring this project forward within the somewhat limited time frame. It chimes very well with government thinking at the minute about inclusion and partnership and inclusion of young people in our work, and I think therefore it has a high degree of chiming with the project support that the Department for Education will give us. So happy to support, and congratulations to everyone who's worked to provide us with a lot of detail in a very short space of time, which I'm sure is appreciated.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marcus, please.
I'm going to disagree respectively with Councillor Grottick. I don't think that this does reflect national policy. I see this as a missed opportunity for working with partners and engaging with the school and the new trust to ensure that we've got a sustainable, attractive offer for our children. I think, having spoken to colleagues at school, they have not been consulted about this at all. They see this as a bit of a wasted opportunity, like I've said, to share resources to ensure that revenue costs and staffing costs are kept down, sustainable for both organisations. I don't know if members are aware, but there's a change of trust happening very soon in the council, and I know that TPAT, the new trust, and nationally most trusts are moving towards on-school site provision for alternative provision and SEND platforms. I'm not against this. This has been rumbling on for, I think the school put in a planning application over 5 years ago for alternative provision. So, you know, this has been going on for a long time, so I don't want to stand in the way of this, but I would like to see the location revisited and some of the reasoning why. And the revenue cost for the business case, there's no mention of staffing there, so that's how we're going to staff. Like with all capital projects, it's easy to build it, but staffing afterwards is always going to be difficult. So I think I'm going to abstain from this vote, Chairman, but I need to say my piece because I think it's a wasted opportunity.
Thank you. Could I bring in the monitoring officer now? Thank you.
I just wanted to suggest an additional third recommendation. So the business case, which is before members at the appendix, the project is at concept stage, and so it is constantly evolving. So I think it would be useful if members would consider a third recommendation, which is that delegated authority be provided to Strategic Director for Place, Economy and Environment to make minor amendments to the business case, including legislative references.
Thank you very much. Councillor Grottick, please.
I would just say I think challenge is good. You know, as the monitoring officer has outlined, it's at the concept stage, and I'm sure it's going to be developed further. And I think the more input from members and from officers so that we achieve the outcome we all want will be very beneficial. So I'm happy to support the monitoring officer's recommendation or put it into words if that's necessary.
Thank you. Councillor Dean, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to second that recommendation. One thing that sticks in my mind, when we talk about on-site provision, I thought one of the issues, and I'm no expert in children's services at all, but I thought one of the issues was that there were some children that the experience of going onto the school site was part of the problem, and so it was important that it wasn't on the school site. But you know, these are all things that can be discussed with partners, I think, as we go on. And you know, this is just the start of the case. Yes, we want to move at pace, but I think we have to have those conversations with the school and other users as well to make sure it is what we all want it to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor White, I'm sorry I left you out just now. Would you like to come in, please?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Just to say I sort of welcome the project. I think this, you know, in discussion with other key stakeholders, we're going to end up with this goes forwards with an excellent facility that I hope will benefit all of the islands. I did just have sort of one question sort of around the costings. There isn't a great deal of wiggle room between the funding and the proposed capital costs. If, as we know tends to happen over here, if that does creep up and the numbers creep up, is the opportunity to pay, apply for further funding to cover any costs over that?
If I could come back on that, Chair, I think that's the main point of this, getting the business case through and then having those ongoing discussions with the Department for Education to ensure that that is fully funded. So I think once we get the tenders in, we'll have another conversation. We'll need to come back to Council as well, but we'll have an ongoing discussion with the Department for Education about the need to fund this project and what that allocation might need to be for this coming year to ensure that the costs are now covered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Executive, please.
Yeah, I think I would just come in on the comments that Councillor Marcus made. Agree with some of his comments in terms of the way that the sort of the education system is being changed, and that, you know, alternative provision is looking to be delivered both in or outside of school. But our proposal here is for a building which is multiple use. And it's going to be used as, you know, the idea is it'd be used as a youth club, maybe for some other SEND support, and also potentially post-16, etc. So that would mean that it would need to be accessible for 52 weeks of the year, not quite 24/7, but you know what I mean, more than just a school day. And that's one of the reasons why I think the proposal was to put it as close to the school as possible, but not necessarily on the school site, because it would be contained about who can access that during the school day. If you wanted to use it for other use other than alternative provision, it would only actually be used by school staff during the day. But we'll take on board what he said as we develop the project.
Thank you very much. Councillor Roger, please.
Yeah, if I may, Chair, thank you. Just a useful thought.
Hello, Councillor Roger.
Right, Councillor Grottick. Let's
Sorry. No, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just framing my words carefully and jumped in too soon, apologies. Just a useful thought that did come from one meeting that I attended, that we shouldn't perhaps be thinking of alternative provision, but appropriate provision, which I'm sure we all are. And obviously, to use the hackneyed phrase, we're at the start of the journey. Thank you. And apologies again, Councillor Roger.
Thank you. Councillor Roger, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I have some sympathy with Councillor Marcus's points, but the Chief Executive has come back on that and understand that as well. Having had first-hand experience of SEND provision on these islands for many years, I would just want to encourage that the missed opportunity of the Council and the Academy joining forces to deliver joint education and SEND provision is not missed on this opportunity. And you've mentioned it's close to the school, but I think somewhere in this report, and maybe another recommendation, we do revisit that joint thinking, because I think it's absolutely vital for the SEND provision on these islands that the Academy and the Council are working hand in hand on this, because that's not always been the case in the past.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roger. Councillor Mumford, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering whether we could ask Nicola as the Director to have more, to make sure that there is more consultation with the school over the whole project.
Nicola?
Yeah, so I think it's not just the school, is it? It's the end users in the round. So I think this is what we didn't want to do is raise expectation without agreeing the business case. So the business case is the start of the journey, isn't it? Once we've got the business case approved, then we need to have those detailed discussions about what this provision will look like, how it will ensure that we provide the right facilities for everybody on the island. So let's make sure that we have that engagement. And I know Laura's committed to making sure we have a much stronger working relationship with the school and the other end users. So yeah, it's a commitment from us as officers to make sure that we make the best of this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a proposer and a seconder for these recommendations. All those in favour, please. Any abstentions? 2. Councillor Marcus, Councillor Mumford. Any against? No, so that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Could I just say something, Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to, I've abstained from voting for this because I would like to see more consultation with the school. When that actually happens, then I think it will be a different kettle of fish. That's my reason.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Nicola, for your report. We move on now to item 10 on our agenda, which is the outcome of the monitoring visit by Ofsted on the 8th and 9th of October. And that report's being brought to us by Sarah Allam. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. It's not my intention to go through the Ofsted letter in detail because I'm sure you've all had opportunity to read it. What I'd like to do is give you some of the headlines and expand a little bit on the verbal feedback that we had from Ofsted when they were here on the 8th and 9th of October, and then just open the floor up for questions. So this was our 4th monitoring visit to Children's Services since the inadequate ILACS inspection in July of 2023. I'm not going to visit the past too much. You'll all be aware that we had 2 monitoring visits early last year that didn't go particularly well. And then we had a monitoring visit this February and this one in October of this year. I think, the first headline, let's talk about the real positives first, was that the inspectors found that we are continuing really well on our improvement journey, that services for children and the support they're receiving is continuing to improve. We have much better and more effective recording systems in place now. We also have an effective quality assurance framework that we are using that Ofsted were very positive about. And we have a much better feedback as well. I think our relationships with partners were all seen to be improved, both with strategic partners on the mainland and with local partners that we work with day to day on the islands as well. That includes really improved relationships reported from our school in terms of how we're working together. And that's something I think we've worked on really hard in the last year. It has been a journey, but I think we are now demonstrating that there is much more cooperation, much more working together than perhaps we had in the past. And that feedback came from partners, so it's not me talking about that, that's what partners said to our Ofsted inspectors. Interestingly, in terms of the inspection team that came, one of the inspectors was here back in July 2023 when we had our inadequate judgment, and she spoke really positively about all the change she saw when she came back this time. And I mean, that was, I think, really helpful for officers and for members to hear as well. Ofsted were very positive about the corporate and political support that Children's Services continue to receive. They noted the investment that Children's Services have and also the improved governance arrangements and also our restructure. And our current DCS, Sue Ross, unfortunately she can't be here today, she has worked really at speed to get our arrangements in place to recruit to the senior leadership posts as permanent posts. So that's the Director of Children and Adult Services, the head of children's social care and the head of adult services as well. And those recruitment plans will be moving forward very quickly, actually, in the next couple of weeks, where it's hoped that interviews will be able to take place for those permanent posts. So services are improved, we have effective systems in place, we have policies and procedures in place that actually we didn't have a year ago. And part of that, I think, Ofsted did reflect that despite some of the significant changes in staffing we've had in recent months, most obviously the change in Director of Children's Services, that hasn't had any impact on our sustained improvement journey. And that's because we do have much better policies and procedures in place that sustain and will give the services much better legacy going forward in the future. In terms of some of the gaps in provision that I think we all knew were there, whilst we are now doing much better at, for instance, recognising young people who may be considered as young carers, we don't have a good enough service to offer them in place yet. That will be one of our priorities for the next couple of months before Ofsted return. We've also got a little more work to do around our mosaic system. I'm sure you've all heard a lot about that in the last year or so. What we don't have yet is a good enough reporting system. It's there, so for example, week on week I know how many assessments are coming into the service, I know how many children have been seen, so we've got all that information. It's just it's not coming off the system quickly enough. That will be resolved, I think, before the end of December. We're nearly there on that now, and we're getting additional help from the company that owns Mosaic as well, who are going to do a health check for us to make sure our system is fully fit for purpose, and that will just make sure that we've got much better sort of sign-off and clarity about what's happening and when. Also, you know, Ofsted did talk about our post-16 provision. You can see what they've said in the letter, that there's more work to be done, and I think as a department we have fully recognised that we need to do more, and there are plans in place so that by the time Ofsted come back in February, we will be able to report to them a much more suitable arrangement that's in plan for our young people. And that will be taken forward by our current director, Sue Ross, together with the new temporary Head of Children's Services, Roy Chowdhury, who joined us yesterday, and Laura Thompson, who is our Head of Education. So they will be working very closely together over the next few weeks to make sure we start doing more consultation, getting plans in place. Ofsted were really positive and reflected on our appointment of the transitions officer, Lucy, who's working on the mainland now, and she's done a lot of work already to build relationships with young people, with families, and with the education establishments as well, to ensure we're hearing from them about their pastoral care and their interventions with our young people. So, and I think the other thing I would just quickly like to reflect on is that Ofsted obviously sent their letter to the DFE. The DFE did meet with us last week. It wasn't in person due to the weather, but they have their 6 monthly visits also to hear about how we're progressing. We will have a letter from them shortly that will be published with their views, of course. But I think it's quite important that they had seen the Ofsted letter. They felt very positive about our direction of travel at the moment. And what they reflected was on the fact that the improvements have been made not by individuals, but by the service as a whole, all the staff in the service, and also the incredible support we've had from partners as well in the last year. So we have had much more support from the mainland, notably our Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Safeguarding Children partnership. We're now much more involved in the work there, which means we get many resources back from them as well. We've got much more support from mainland police protection unit officers and from strategic health partners as well, who've been over here more regularly to actually get a sense of how things work here. So the support we've had has paid off, and I think the fact that we've also stepped into those environments much more actively as well has made a difference. So those are the headlines I've picked out. I'm quite happy to take any questions from any of you about the report in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Councillor Williams, please.
There's not a great deal left for me to say. I can only just echo your sentiments, Sarah. It was very pleasing for me to be in the room and hear the positive feedback from Ofsted. I think you've picked up on all the key sort of lines of inquiry that they touched upon. It was reassuring to hear that as a council entity, Ofsted were impressed by the commitment, the dedication that we were showing to safeguarding and the sort of requirements that are expected by them. And again, that was echoed by the DFE, as you alluded to in the subsequent meeting. In our previous conversation, we talked about joint working, and I think the improvement in partnership working over the last 12, 18 months has been significant. That's demonstrated by Ofsted, by DFE. We had a Children and Young People's Plan meeting last week, which was very much partner orientated. So that's been a massive, we shouldn't underestimate or understate how big that improvement has been. As you suggested, I think Ofsted were reassured that we weren't dependent on individuals in our improvement. There were plans and policies and processes in place which made the service much more resilient and robust. Again, as you talked about post-16, we had our parents meeting shortly after Ofsted's visit, and we were able to talk to parents about some of the improvements in the pipeline. We've got another parents meeting with post-16, I think on about the 6th of December, so we'll be up to update further, but those sorts of improvements were fed into Ofsted and well received. Your comment about the mainland-based transition support worker, I think was also commented favourably by Ofsted and DFE, so that's been a very positive move for us. Going forward, we're going to have one more monitoring visit, highly likely in the new year. I expect we might get a full inspection in 2026. We're likely to have a SEND inspection in due course too. So all really left for me to see is to thank all staff, all partners, particularly you, Sarah. You've been in post for about 18 months. I think your days are now limited, but I think we're safe in saying that you're leaving Children's Services in a much better place than you found it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Chair, may I make another couple of comments?
Yes, please.
Just thinking about future planning. Yes, we are expecting what will, in theory, be our final monitoring visit around about February, with full ILACS inspection and a regraded judgment late spring would be our assessment. The other thing I just wanted to talk about a little bit, and you will get further information around this, is the Family First transformation reforms that local authorities have been planning and pathfinding over the last year or so that now need to start motoring forward over the next 3 to 6 months. We do have some dedicated support and funding to ensure these transformations take place here, as well as all other local authorities across the country. We're in quite a fortunate position here in that the structure we have already sort of fits with what family reforms is about, which is earlier support, family help, and working more closely to provide the services that families say they want at an earlier stage. Our improvement plan for ILACS is just about complete now, and it's really, really positive to be able to say we have achieved everything, just about, not quite, but we set out to do. So the improvement board and steering group for improvement will be looking to integrate what work we've got left to do together with the family reforms work, which is about training staff for the future, about ensuring we've got the right family help offer at the outset, and also some changes to the way that our child protection system works. Again, because of the way we work with Cornwall now that we've set up in the last year, most of that is already in place. So we're in a very good position. We will have a delivery plan ready to propose to the DFE by the 19th of December. Our evaluation of where we're at is completed. We've done that very rapidly over the last few weeks. So I think what we've got in terms of the future plan is a very good, positive idea about where services will go in the future and the structure to actually ensure that that happens.
Thank you. Councillor Guy, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to propose the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Grottick.
Yes, I'm happy to second them, but I would just say that members have supported the financial support to children's services, the new staffing structure, and now I'm sure we support monitoring the progress as things improve even further. And I wish Sarah well and echo the Vice Chair's thanks for all her hard work while she's been with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dean, please.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's good to hear all the improvements in place, and well done everyone who's been involved. I mean, the hot potato is obviously the post-16 provision, and it's really pleasing to hear that we've been engaging with parents approaching that very scary time in their children's life. I understand there's another meeting tomorrow with which will probably be more difficult, shall we say? But I hope that we go into that meeting with the same kind of attitude as we have in the other meetings, where we just try desperately to work together to get what is best for our children, regardless of what our legal position is or what our statutory requirements are. We should always be aiming to achieve the very best that we possibly can for our children, and working with all parents to achieve that. So just like to make that point before the meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor White, please.
Thank you, Chair. As you can say, the Ofsted letter is very welcome to see all the improvements noted. And I'd like to say thank you and commend all of the Children's Services staff for their hard work in getting to this point. It's also good to see from the report that the new systems are bedding in and being used. I was curious about what Ofsted mean when they refer to anomalies in the electronic recording system. Is that just gremlins in a new system, or?
I think it's just some pure technicalities about how the system works and how it pulls the data out. I think there was some initial expectation, which was not correct, that the system would also produce a performance management report. It doesn't. It's a recording system, and in a large local authority, you would probably have software that would then jiggle it all around, for lack of my technical knowledge. But that sort of system would cost us in excess of £200,000, whereas actually all we need to do is a little bit of work, which does involve, so it involves my role, it involves our performance officer, it involves our Mosaic implementation officers, ensuring that we can actually do something as simple as Excel to produce what we need to. What we've got now is a system that we know targets the information we need. We just need to make it presentable. Does that make sense?
But yeah, so bedding in a new system, making it work our circumstances. And I think this is the first time that Ofsted have picked up on any issues around the post-16 situation. And I'd like to sort of echo Councillor Dean, really. I know a lot of work is being done around post-16, and it is good to see the positive improvements being noted. And my hope is that a collaborative approach with parents and community stakeholders will enable us all to make the case together to government for increased funding, to make other accommodation options available, and put us on a par with other island communities around the UK. So really good to see that positive work carrying on there.
Thank you. And I would say, as a department, our view was that we needed to be very transparent. We know the gaps and we know the things we need to deal with. Ofsted will find them if we don't tell them. So, we just made sure we were honest about it.
Thank you. Councillor Marcus, please.
Yeah, echo congratulations, and it's good to see in terms of joint working, it's good to see council staff in school more, and I bumped into Sarah quite a lot in reception, so that's good. In terms of how we embed this good work, what the danger is that we spent loads of money, we spent loads of resources. Once we get the ILACS inspection out of the way next year, how do we ensure as members that we are creating good oversight of the department to make sure we continue this journey, that we don't go backwards?
Councillor Marcus, with respect, I would say don't take your foot off the gas to all of you, because it is, council members need to keep an eye on all the improvements. What we have already mentioned is we will have by early spring a children and young people's plan. I mean, that will be presented to councillors. You know, this is the work we need to do going forward, and that plan will need to be consistently updated and renewed. We will have hopefully set up fairly soon a corporate parenting board as well, and both of those will be vehicles by which council members should expect children's services to report on progress and maintain that as well. We have a much better performance and quality assurance framework now. So when there's an expectation in, for example, the Director of Children's Services reports to yourselves, that should include our performance data saying, what work we've done, how we've done it, are our assessments on time, are our children being seen when they should be seen, is our continuum of need, which is around what services at what level children need, is that working correctly? So I think we have much better reassurance in place that you can come back to us and should come back to us and ask for and ask about in those reports.
Thank you. Chief Executive, please.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Sarah just said. One of the things that the Improvement Board and the Quartet group that have overseen the improvements have agreed to is that the Improvement Board needs to continue beyond the ILACS inspection. So we still need to keep that in place. That will need to morph into something that keeps a monitoring sort of view on children's services as we go forward. So I think it's something we have identified. The performance reporting should also help. But as I said, we don't see the end of that group, that Improvement Board, just when we have the ILACS. We see that going on into the future.
Thank you. Councillor Mumford, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to say that with the post-16, I think we've come quite a long way, but I think it is so important for councillors and officers and the community to work together to solve these problems, and the sooner the better, because it's taking up a lot of time. For us, there are other problems in council as well, like adult social care needs sorting out, but I would like to say that you have my support, the officers have my support, and I am hoping that all councillors will support the officers in going forward and getting something that's agreeable to us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So I have a proposer and a seconder for these recommendations. All those in favour, please. That's unanimous, carried. Thank you. And I'd just like to take this opportunity also to thank Sarah very much indeed for all the hard work and commitment that she has given to children's services during her time with us, and wish you well. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. So we move on now to item 11 on our agenda, which is the Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Local Area Energy Plan, which is in the hands of Rebecca, who heads Environment. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Good morning, members. So this report presents the Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Local Area Energy Plan. So local area energy plans identify the best route for local areas to achieve net zero, a future energy system that will be cleaner, more affordable and resilient. The Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Local Area Energy Plan has been led by Cornwall Council with support and input from the Council of the Isles of Scilly and engagement with local stakeholders. Consultant City Science also supported the plan's development alongside independent quality assurance and evaluation from Exeter University. The summary report for the Isles of Scilly can be found in Appendix A to the report, and the summary report has specific relevance to the Isles of Scilly and includes recommended actions for the islands, taking our unique circumstances into account. And Appendix B of the report contains actions which are relevant to both Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly in order to achieve net zero. The Cornwall LAEP section can be found in the link contained in the report, and the Isles of Scilly summary will be merged with this document as soon as possible. The Isles of Scilly summary report presents a best outlook pathway which details favourable and realistic projections of the local area energy system changes needed for the islands to achieve more affordable, secure and clean energy in a way which reflects the island's community's challenges, opportunities and priorities. It's important to note that the LEP provides a local evidence base to support decarbonisation, and it isn't intended to be adopted as policy of the Council of the Isles of Scilly. The LEP aims to deliver multiple benefits to residents, most notably by building resilience to the effects of climate change. The LEP also aims to tackle energy inequalities and reduce fuel poverty, improve the island's energy security and support growth in the local economy. By implementing the LEP, the islands can address the issues and create a more sustainable and resilient future. Looking ahead, the LEP provides a vision for the future energy system, and it details the information to achieve net zero and a pathway showing the rate of change required. The plan includes a series of targets and milestones, and it's intended to be a living document which is recommended to be reviewed every 5 years. The Council will continue to work with Cornwall Council, engaging with key stakeholders locally to further define the recommended actions and the governance arrangements required to deliver the LEP, recognising that a wider system leadership approach is critical to embedding the LEP, its actions and implementation within the wider system across Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. It's noted in the report about further public consultation and working more collaboratively and in partnership with local stakeholders such as the Duchy of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly Community Venture. This will be really important moving forward to support and further develop priorities for action. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. In the absence of John Peacock, Harry, would you like to come in, please?
I don't have sort of anything prepared, but I would point out from the report that sort of areas to focus on, such as improving energy efficiency in residential and commercial buildings, is a key way to reduce energy. It was also going to provide cost savings. I think with this evidence base, along with the proposed carbon reduction plan for the council, I think it goes a long way to demonstrating that we have got a lot of work to do, and where we should put most effort in.
Thank you very much, Councillor Legg. I don't have any other lights on. Sorry, Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see reference to health, wellbeing, fuel poverty, etc. in the report. I had a good briefing yesterday with our Director of Public Health certainly around fuel poverty, poverty in general. There's a report coming to our next Health and Wellbeing Board in December. So I don't know, Rebecca, have you met Katie Ash yet? It might be worth, if I can I'm just trying to join things up. It might be worth having conversations there to make sure that the health benefits and the poverty discussions are all sort of aligned into this as well at some point.
Thank you. Councillor Legg?
It is a recommendation to note. I don't know if we need to propose that, but I'm happy to propose it if necessary.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor White, all those in favour? It's carried unanimous. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you very much, Rebecca, for your report. So we move on now to item 12, which is His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services inspection, which is the report of our Chief Fire Officer, Phil. Good morning, Phil. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Yes, I'm pleased to introduce this report that details the findings of His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services following their inspection of the Isles of Scilly Fire and Rescue Service for the period 23 to 25. The inspection provided a comprehensive assessment of our service's performance and highlighted both areas of strengths and those requiring improvement. And Council did see the report when that was published in March this year. So this paper outlines the key outcomes of the inspection and presents our structured improvement plan in response. I'm seeking members' approval of the improvement plan arising from the report and recognition of the progress made by the Isles of Scilly Fire and Rescue Service.
Thank you very much, Phil. Any questions, please? Councillor Mumford.
Thank you, Phil. This has already been to scrutiny. I was just wondering how you're getting on with the promoting fairness and diversity was one of the points that requires improvement. What plans you've put in place for that?
Yeah, so if I may, so a lot of work was done post-publication of the report, including one-to-one sessions that were delivered by Natalie Swift, that dealt with the areas that we were found to be, or they were found to be shortcomings in, and that was primarily around the understanding by our staff of the core code of ethics, which is something published by the Fire Standards Board. There was some additional work that we needed to do. So one of those was gaining membership of women in the fire service. We do recognise that that's our growing number of women in the service within the Isles of Scilly, making sure that they've got proper representation and a proper understanding of the opportunities that may be open to them, that we as a service may have missed in the past. So we do have that corporate membership, and we're going through a process of establishing an On Islands group that will feed into that. So I'm quite satisfied that most of that work is completed, but I just want to make sure that before we sign that off, and I need to check the date that we've got for completion of that, but that all of that work has been embedded and our staff can confidently really, I guess that our staff are confident, and we are confident that our staff understand the issues of equality, diversity and inclusion that were found to be short by the Inspectorate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sims, please.
I mean, as Councillor Mumford said, it did come to scrutiny, and we discussed it then, and I haven't really got anything further to add. Thank you. So I'd just like to pose the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Mumford. Oh, sorry, just one moment. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think corporately this is really good news, isn't it? Councillor White and I will be working on a little newsletter update, and I think something like this should be really high up on the agenda for that. Just reflecting in the last few months, we've had good news from the CQC on adult services. We spoke about Ofsted half an hour, 10 minutes ago. This is really good positive news as well. So I think we need to make sure that's out there. We've also spoken about post-16, and I think we've seen post-16 evolve from a children's services challenge to a corporate challenge. And I think, Phil, I'm right in saying that the fire service are now doing proposals in place to do more work around post-16, host family support and things like that. It was one of the discussions we had at the parents' meeting a few weeks back. So again, I'm just really pleased to see that the corporate entity, the council as a whole, is working in partnership within itself to try and address some of its challenges. So I think that's just one small example, but I'm very grateful for the work you're doing, Phil, on some of those challenges which we face.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I have a proposer and a seconder for the to approve the improvement plan. So all those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Again, thank you very much. And I would echo the Vice Chairman's words, Phil, and thank you and your service very much indeed for the hard work that they put in and the very good result that you've achieved here. It's great to have some good news on Scilly, and you need to be congratulated along with Kevin and all the staff on the work to get where they've got to, and good luck with the improvement plan. Thank you very much. And whilst you're in the chair, can we move on to item 13, which is the Fire and Rescue Service Annual Assurance Paper for 24-25, also in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So, Chair and members, I'm pleased to present the Isles of Scilly Fire and Rescue Service Annual Assurance Statement for 2024-25. This report provides a retrospective overview of how the service has met its statutory duties and responsibilities in line with the Fire and Rescue National Framework for England. It outlines our progress in governance, our operational preparedness, financial stewardship, and the collaboration with partners, and it highlights the improvements made since the last HMI CFRS inspection. I invite members to approve the report and its appendices, please.
Thank you again. Councillor Dean, please.
I'll propose the recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Sims?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? That's unanimous again. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Phil, for that. And lastly, item for you at the moment, item 14, which is the extension of the Isles and Scilly Fire and Rescue Service Community Risk Management Plan to 2027. In your hands. Thank you.
Thank you again, Chair. So this report is recommending an extension to the Isles of Scilly Fire and Rescue Service Community Risk Management Plan, and it's asking for the extension by 1 year to March 2027. The proposal responds to operational constraints and strategic alignment needs with Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service, who support our CRMP development. This extension will ensure continued compliance with national requirements. It allows us to address some key inspection findings and maintain momentum on vital initiatives such as data sharing, our prevention strategy, and equality, diversity and inclusion. So we would normally have been publishing our new CRMP this year. We are relying on support from Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service to do that. They asked us if we would extend because they just don't have the capacity to do our CRMP at the same time as theirs. It's unfortunate because we had changed to align with them at their request in the past, but we are in this position. So I invite members to approve the extension of the current Community Risk Management Plan by 1 year to March 2027 for the reasons set out in the report.
Thank you very much, Phil. Councillor Sims, please.
Happy to propose the recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Dean. All those in favour? That's carried unanimous. Again, thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Phil, for all your reports.
Thank you.
So we move on now to item 15, which is grant in aid surface water drainage study, which is again in the hands of Rebecca, please.
Morning, members. I'm going to pass to Henry Dean to present this report to you this morning because he would like the opportunity to do so.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and thank you, Chair. So as members will be aware, the Isles of Scilly is vulnerable to flooding, but that's not just flooding from the sea, that is also surface water flooding, so that's runoff from rain, etc., as we saw in August. This report outlines the plan for a surface water drainage study in 3 priority areas on St Mary's. This study will be fully funded by grant and aid funding from the Environment Agency to the value of £200,000. That's split into £100,000 this financial year, 25-26, and another £100,000 next financial year, 26-27. This study was identified as an action as part of Objective 2 of our local flood risk management plan. And it will also support the Council's responsibilities and duties as lead local flood authority as well as highways authority by building an understanding of not only our drainage infrastructure, most of which is a highway asset, but also understanding where water is draining to, where are the problem areas, and what steps can we take to address the problem. Approval from councillors will be needed to claim this funding and also to uplift the relevant budgets to reflect the value claimed. And that is what we are asking you to do today. I'm happy to take any questions on this report.
Thank you, Henry. Councillor Dean, please.
I'm happy to propose the recommendations. I'm just a bit terrified of what we're going to find when we inspect our surface drainage system, because I fear it may be in a pretty poor state, and we're going to find we've got millions and millions of pounds to spend, but yeah, we need to find out, so happy to propose.
Thank you. Councillor Marcus,
Yeah,
please.
can I just ask clarification in paragraph 10? It talks about existing council managed drainage. I thought we passed all our water stuff to South West Water.
That's a really good question. So on that point, we still manage the highway surface water drainage as part of the highway infrastructure. However, and most of that is separate from a wider sewerage system that was passed over to South West Water in 2020. There is also, South West Water are also responsible for combined storm sewer drainage systems. But while preparing for doing the study, we did speak to colleagues at South West Water, as well as our own operational services team, and they confirmed that, with a few exceptions, the storm drains for highway and the sewers are mostly separate. Therefore, the storm drains on the highway are a council asset.
Okay, so this will cover most of the island, or will it cover, will that be partial, or?
So, as mentioned in paragraph 11, it will be focusing on 3 priority areas: Hugh Town, Porthmelon and Old Town. So it won't be covering the entirety of St Mary's. We've had to obviously keep the scope of the study relatively straightforward, just to make sure that we're able to get a reasonable quotation. But we identify those areas because those areas are the most vulnerable and contain the most critical infrastructure, which may be at risk from surface water flooding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Grottick, please.
Yes, I don't know if it's relevant, but the last time we discussed responsibilities with regard to our water undertaking duties, we also had responsibility for some areas on Briar. This is obviously specifically for St Mary's, but are we using it, are we at the moment doing any work like this on any of the off-islands, please?
At the moment, the study will only be covering St Mary's. We are aware that there will be flooding issues on the off-islands. As you did mention about the water on Briar, I understand, to the best of my knowledge, that there is no council-owned drainage on any of the off-islands. It is only on St Mary's where there is council-owned drainage infrastructure. We are, however, aware that there needs to be work done with the off-islands on flooding, and I would love an opportunity, and I'm sure Rebecca would agree, it would be great to have conversations with the off-island members on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't really even have roads covering the whole island, do we? So, let alone drains.
Thank you. So, do I have a proposer, please, for the adoption of these recommendations? Councillor Dean, seconded Councillor Marcus. All those in favour, please? That's carried unanimous again, and thank you, Henry.
Sorry, but you missed my light going on.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say something very briefly.
Sorry?
You missed my light going on.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just that, again, this is flooding in areas where there are buildings and assets. That's the focus, isn't it? Which is, I think, because we get quite a lot of torrents when it's very heavy rain, but there's no buildings there. I think it's just worth making the point. The focus is usually on where there are assets.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to thank Henry very much for your work on this and for how you've presented this report and how you've answered the questions, which has been excellent. Thank you very much. So we move on now to item 16, which is the Isles of Scilly Manifesto for Culture 2026 to 2030 in Nicola's hands. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a brief report. We had the initial Isles of Scilly Manifesto for Culture that was published in 2021. And this new manifesto brings that up to date, and it covers the following period up to 2030. It considers the new opportunities created by the redevelopment of the Town Hall, of course, and provides an updated cultural strategy for the islands, which is important when we're looking at further funding in terms of culture and activities moving forward. Having an update strategy will obviously help with those funding bids. The strategy itself identifies 4 principles around the island's identity, about its connectivity, how we seek inclusion, and how we make sure that we do things in an environmentally responsible way. From those 4 principles comes our priorities, and the next step really will be taking this manifesto forward into an implementation action plan to make sure that we deliver the right culture offer for the islands, taking into account the principles established within this manifesto. So the recommendation is that we adopt the manifesto for culture for 2026 to 2030, and we delegate authority to myself to make some minor changes for publication, because you've got the text there in the appendices, but we've got some case studies and illustrations to add into it to make it a more attractive document. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Dean, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. Just good to update it and look ahead to all the great opportunities coming. So yeah, thank you, and I'll propose it.
Thank you. Councillor Roger, please.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to welcome the Manifesto for Culture in this report. Wanted to thank Tammy Bedford in particular for her work and the collaborative nature of the work. As a councillor and as head of Visit Scilly, it's very welcome, and we look forward to playing our full part going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Sims.
Yeah, I was going to really what Ewan said about there has been certainly over the last couple of years. There's been a considerable amount of things happening here, which have been you got the Royal Shakespeare Company came over this year, which is I think they chose King Lear unfortunately, but it didn't. Not the happiest of plays, but it went down extremely well. It got reviewed in the Guardian, so it's so I think it's very effective. My only fear is that sometimes these things can get perhaps a touch too pretentious for lots of people who actually live here. But as long as we keeps it grounded, I think it's great. So I'm happy to second it if Ewan didn't.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, share all the previous comments. On the bullet points in section 2, where there's education, so I'm going to get post-16 in again because I think we need to recognise that. It says all students leave at the age of 16. I don't think that's technically correct. I have to say vast majority do, but we do work with some young people who don't, for whatever reason, leave at 16, and we try to put in place apprenticeships and other safeguards to ensure that they're supported. So it's just the word all I would have a slight issue with.
We'll make that amendment, Councillor Williams, no problem. Thanks for pointing that out.
Thank you very much indeed. So I have a proposer and a seconder for the recommendations. All those in favour, please. It's once again unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Nicola, for your report. Item 17 on our agenda is the Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan in the hands of Lisa, our Chief Planning Officer. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Morning, everyone. So this report seeks full council approval to publish the early consultation draft of the Isles of Scilly Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan for a 6-week public consultation period. So 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of the island's designation as a single conservation area, and the Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan represents a key step in supporting appropriate heritage-led development. The work has been prepared by Cornwall Archaeological Unit, and the draft provides an assessment of the island's historic built environment and landscape, identifies key elements of significance, highlights challenges such as climate change, tourism pressures and infrastructure limitations. The consultation will inform the development of this work into supplementary planning guidance with an intention to develop heritage-led design codes and management strategies which will underpin refined heritage policies in the emerging local plan. The consultation process ensures statutory compliance under the the Planning, List of Building and Conservation Areas Act 1990 and aligns with the Council's Statement of Community Involvement, promoting transparency, community engagement in shaping future development and policies. So the proposal is to go out to consultation, publish on the website and eventually inform supplementary planning guidance. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Councillor Marcus, please.
Yeah, we're asking people a lot about their opinions in the next few months, which is really good. Yeah, this is a fundamental backbone of council policy and planning policy for the next 5 years. So I would encourage everyone to at least answer the questionnaire. The document itself is dense, but it is really interesting and does give really good insight into the history of Scilly and reasons why decisions and policies have been made. I propose recommendations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sims, please.
I'm very happy to second the recommendations, and just regarding the document itself, it's very, as Dan said, it's a very interesting document, and it stands alone outside of a council report. So, and I mean, it'd be nice if some of the pictures were labelled a little bit better about where they specifically are, because it's extremely interesting and a lovely report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have a proposer and seconder for the recommendations? All those in favour, please. That's unanimous again. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you very much, Lisa, for your report. And I would like to encourage everybody, as mentioned by Councillor Marcus, to do the questionnaire and to try and encourage others to do so and support this. Thank you very much indeed. Tom, I'd just like to hand over to Tom a moment. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next report that's in front of you is regarding the adoption of the local validation checklist. So I brought a draft version of the local validation checklist in front of you in July and requested that go to public consultation, which it did over the summer. And despite our best efforts, we only got 2 responses, but we have considered those responses and selected all the points that were made within them, and those changes are listed at item 7 within the report. We are now requesting your approval for those amendments that are in at item 7 and also the adoption of the checklist. And sort of happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councillor Marcus, please.
No questions. I would like to propose the recommendation. No questions from me, rather. I would like to propose the recommendations.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? That's Councillor Nixon. And all those in favour, please. That's unanimous again. And could I just apologise for being rather slow on that and not announcing it was item 18 on our agenda. But thank you, Tom, very much for your report. Thank you. We move on now to item 19 on our agenda, which is the trustee appointment to the Richard Addison Charitable Trust in the hands of Joseph. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Chair. So the report is asking members to appoint one nominated managing trustee for a 4-year term to the Richard Addison Charitable Trust. That's to fill a vacancy that has arisen following the death of Mrs. Susan Pritchard, someone who made an enormous contribution to the life of the islands as an Addison trustee, a councillor and a council officer. The Richard Addison Charitable Trust is an independent charitable trust founded upon a bequest from a local man who died in 1979. Under the terms of his will, its role is to support welfare purposes, in particular for the benefit of the old folks of the islands. That's the wording in the will. The management of the Addison Trust is undertaken by a body of managing trustees. When it's complete, the body consists of 3 nominated managing trustees appointed by the council and 2 co-opted managing trustees appointed by the other trustees. Nominated managing trustees appointed by the council may be councillors, but they don't have to be councillors. And the current managing trustees are Councillor Mumford and Councillor Guy as nominated managing trustees appointed by the council, and Mrs. Jane Chiverton and Mrs. Celia Hicks as co-opted managing trustees appointed by the other trustees. So just to reiterate, members are being asked to appoint one nominated managing trustee for a 4-year term. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Is there anybody in mind?
Councillor Mumford, please.
Yes, I would like to nominate Dan Marcus, please.
Thank you. Councillor Guy.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations, please? No. So we have a proposer and seconder for Councillor Marcus. All those in favour, please? That's unanimous again. Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully you'd like to take the appointment, Councillor Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your report. Thank you. I'd just like to come back to item 2 on our agenda, the minutes of our previous meeting, and hand over to Leah, our monitoring officer. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Chair. Just revisiting the minutes, as it is preferable for them to be approved at this meeting as opposed to the next in line with our standing orders. I was slightly confused at the beginning of this meeting, but it appears that there has been an administrative error. But if members are satisfied, I could read out the portion that is missing in the minutes for them to be approved. So the minutes would be as printed in your agenda packs. And then under the item regarding terms of reference for Health and Wellbeing Board, there's a very short narrative which states, the monitoring officer presented the report entitled Terms of Reference of the Isles of Scilly Health and Wellbeing Board and the Cornwall Health and Wellbeing Board and Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly Integrated Care Partnership. She informed members that a discussion at the Isles of Scilly Health and Wellbeing Board the previous day had raised the issue of 3 councillors possibly being reduced to 2 if one of the councillors was to be appointed in a dual role, as had just happened earlier in the meeting when Councillor Williams was appointed lead member for children. And then Councillor White proposed and Councillor Blackwell seconded the 2 recommendations in the report, and this was approved. I'll go over what those were. And then Councillor Mumford proposed and Councillor Roger seconded that Councillor John Peacock be appointed as the 3rd Isles of Scilly Council member of the board, and this was approved. So the resolutions were that approval be given to the revised terms of reference for the Isles of Scilly Health and Wellbeing Board, that approval be given to the revised terms of reference for the Cornwall Health and Wellbeing Board and the Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Integrated Care Partnership, and that Councillor John Peacock be appointed as a member of the Isles of Scilly Health and Wellbeing Board. So in terms of agenda item 2, it is the minutes as presented to members with that amendment.
Thank you very much, Leah. Do I have a proposer, please, for the adoption of the minutes on that basis? Councillor Guy, seconded Councillor Mumford. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. That's carried unanimous. And thank you very much, Councillor White, for bringing it to our attention. With that, I will close the meeting. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance.